Hey, how's it going, everybody? Mike Weber here, your Los Angeles real estate broker, here with your real estate market update for the beginning of December 2020. So the last month has been pretty interesting. Still a very similar climate to what we've been seeing over the last couple months. Very minimal inventory. A lot of competition on the buyer side. I mean, multiple offers, properties selling for 10, 15, 20, 30, 50, sometimes more than that over asking price. Counter offers that are asking buyers to remove all contingencies or no inspection reports or disclosures contingencies. So it's a very competitive market indeed for buyers out there, and it's a pretty advantageous market for sellers right now, assuming that your property is marketed correctly and it's priced, fairly at market price. So overall, we're still seeing a lot of price growth, elevated prices in a large amount compared to what we saw last year at the same time of year. And the number of sales are kind of starting to come down a little bit. Inventory staying relatively low. As we head into this holiday season, typically right now, we would have already seen a drop in closed sales and in inventory. But this year, we're seeing that much later than normal as a result of COVID and the lockdowns earlier in the year. Now, of course, we're looking, in fact, Los Angeles just announced lockdown again yesterday. So things are getting much more restrictive, both at the state level and the local level here. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Of course, these interest rates are historically low. There's really no chance that they're going to continue to go down at this point unless the Federal Reserve decides to go negative on interest rates, which they've stated so far they're not going to do, hopefully. So if that's the case, at some point, we're probably going to see affordability issues start coming into play as more and more people push prices up and lock in these lower rates while they're available. At some point, there's not going to be that additional stimulus from rates continuing to fall that we've really been riding the wave on over the last year and a half as the Fed started lowering rates. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll take a look at Los Angeles County as a whole, and then we'll drive down a little deeper and we'll look at the South Bay beach cities and see what's happening in that area as well. All right, so we're looking at Los Angeles County here as a whole, and what you see is, again, as I've talked about in the last couple of videos, just an absolutely incredible jump in median home prices throughout Los Angeles County in the last several months. Now, in the last month, we've seen a little tapering off, not dramatic or anything, but we are still up 13.3% compared to a year ago, which is obvious from just looking at this graph. Massive uptick in median home prices. And clearly the bulk of this is fueled by lower and lower interest rates that are available in the market, along with a lot of other buyer-focused ways of subsidizing the market or stimulating the market, such as lower, low down payment or no down payment loans, increasing of the loan limits for conventional Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loans, which I believe Los Angeles County just raised the limits again, a rather substantial amount to continue to allow buyers to be able to get that low down payment financing so that the lenders can sell those loans to Fannie and Freddie. Now, if we take a look at months supply of inventory, we see we're down just 3.3% compared to a year ago. So kind of back in this very, very low inventory environment, which is obviously causing prices to rise along with the low interest rates that are available in the market. We had a couple years where inventory kind of went up quite a bit, but as you see here in 2020, since COVID, you're really seeing a lot less listing inventory overall than you've really seen over the last couple of years. And this is really a factor of many sellers just not wanting to take action, not putting their homes on the market, maybe due to fear of COVID or having people in their home or waiting to see what's going to happen, etc. Now, if we take a look at closed sales in Los Angeles County, we see we're still up 5.8% compared to a year ago. So clearly for this time of year, we're still seeing a lot of activity because again, we had very muted activity for the first half of the year. So we're playing catch up, and people that really do need to actually buy, sell, and move are still out there trying to buy a property, trying to sell a property, etc. Now, if we look at the South Bay beach cities, what we see here is that we are up year over year 7.3%. Now, we have tapered off. We're kind of on this path sideways here. We've been doing that for the last several months. So still substantial growth compared to a year ago, but at least over the last couple months, we're seeing a steadying off of median home prices. So one explanation for that could be that in Los Angeles County, the county is pretty big and there's a lot of less expensive homes available on the periphery. And so those prices of those less expensive homes, which of course the greatest segment of the buying market are buying those homes, those prices are being pushed up quickly, which is why we're seeing more substantial growth in the county as a whole versus a smaller area, the South Bay beach cities. Now, if we look at the supply of inventory, pretty similar to Los Angeles, we're up 4.8% compared to a year ago. Now, that's mostly because at this time of year, we start to see inventory really drop off. Now, of course, this year, again, we're seeing a lot of stuff get pushed later into the year than typical. So we have slightly more inventory on the market just by a little than we had at the same time last year. Now, looking at closed sales, we see that we're down 4.1% compared to a year ago. So really just kind of right on track, pretty typical for this time of year. So sales are starting to taper off here in the South Bay as well. So yeah, if this information is useful, do me a favor, click the subscribe button. Let me know what you're seeing in your market down in the comments below. Really think next year we're going to start to see some changes. We have the dropping off potentially of the forbearance option that the government granted on government-backed loans. We could potentially see a wave of evictions taking place early next year when the moratorium on evictions gets lifted. And we might not see the same level of stimulus that we're getting now because rates really most likely can't fall any further. So let me know what you guys think is going to happen next year. Obviously, a lot of influencers, a lot of people in the real estate space thought this year we were going to see prices fall. Clearly, the opposite happened, which is why you have to be careful, who you're listening to and what information you're following. But obviously, there's no crystal ball for next year. Anything's possible. I think we can see more inflation in home prices. A lot of people are getting very wealthy in the stock market. And if they're smart, they might roll that money into real estate to have a nice, safe, secure rental income, potentially for the rest of their lives. So it's very hard to say. The government could come in and restrict supply further, continue to make the buy side of the equation more favorable to buyers, more down payment assistance programs, different ways of subsidizing purchases, increase loan limits for conventional financing. So there's a lot of things that could happen this next year that may not necessarily lead to house prices falling like I would say most people are predicting right now. In any case, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Take care.